Welcome one and all. It's time for a Deadzone tournament report. Containment, and as you can see from the thumbnail, it's the first outing for the Forge Fathers. The very bold Forge Fathers, and you can see the entire extent of my painted Forge Father collection right here. So, the controversial choice not to go for any metallic colours whatsoever on these bad boys. So it's a very white and orange and green look we've gone for here. Very stylish, I think you'll agree. And these were painted not exactly hastily, but sort of at the last minute, because I had pledged to use new factions at my last two tournaments, and that was the Night Stalkers for Kings of War and the Forge Fathers for Deadzone. So I had a couple of weeks to get these ready, and this is what I ended up with. So we've got a Juggernaut at the back there, the quite new Forge Father model that's a bit of a beast, very large. We've got some of the old classics. We've got a Bombot, which is just going to explode on people. We've got a mining laser, which I've also had for a very long time. I've had most of these Forge Fathers for ages, actually. They've been sitting in a box for a very, very long time, including this Brocker, who are the kind of unarmoured Forge Fathers, who are a bit better in close combat. A couple of Steel Warriors, one with an autocannon, which, as you would know, is useful for suppressing the enemy. And we have a Forge Guard Huskarl, who is a more powerful version of a Forge Guard. He's the leader, and with his Splat ability, he can reduce the AP of incoming attacks. So anyone who's got some AP on their weapons, hoping to punch through all the armour I've got here, we'll have that to reckon with if I have any splats to use against it. And not very many models for 150 points. The Bombot is only 6 points, so it's useful to put in at that point level. I've also got two items. We've got on the Huskarl and on the Steel Warrior Braccarim, I think it's called, with the autocannon. Those two have got some ammo as well, because the Huskarl shoots on 3s, so useful to give him some ammo to get a nice shot off. And it's worth pointing out the Juggernaut is the Torture variant, so it's got a big flame weapon, and it's also pretty tasty with its drill in close combat as well. So looking forward to setting people on fire. This mining laser is a very, very long range, high AP vehicle. So it's not that expensive, because there are drawbacks to it being a vehicle, of course. It can't climb, so it's limited where it can go, and where it can start the game, in fact. But also, long range, high AP, good for killing things if they happen to wander into its line of sight, because it's not very good at finding its own line of sight, of course. Bombot's also a vehicle, so these two aren't going to be able to do any climbing. Let's see how it goes, though. So, Game 1. This took place at Mantic HQ, by the way, and I did take my terrain, but I didn't play on it, but several other people did. And there was a Best Terrain award, which obviously I was hoping to gun for, because I took my fancy basement board. By the way, I'm not sure how many people are going to be watching this at this ridiculously early time in the morning. I thought, you know what, I don't start work until about lunchtime, so why not just do it now? We've got Peter in the chat, says, "Hey Andy, they look good." Thank you. And the first game is against the filthy, filthy rats, the Veermin. And the scenario, as you can see, pits us trying to claim some of these objectives. There is a 1-pointer there, a 1-pointer there, 2-pointer there, 2-pointer there. So like diagonal line across the middle, and then we set up in the corner in this kind of L shape. And my opponent is set up there. So, you can see a bit of a back view of some of my models as well. I haven't taken full high quality pictures of all of them yet, I just took that one image so far, but you can see from the back that there's more green on the Juggernaut that's visible from that side, and more green on everyone actually, because the back of the legs, the kind of fabric, not the armour, has green on it. So I do need to take some 360 shots of them. So in this cube here we've got the Brocker and we've got the Juggernaut. And what I'm hoping for, because this 2-point objective right here, it's in a cube that is accessible to something very hefty like this Juggernaut, so I want to go for that one. The other 2-point objective is on the ground, so what I would like to do, I've got the Bombot under here. When the enemy try and claim that objective, I want the Bombots to sneak out from cover and explode on them. Because not only can it hide here, if I've got a move dice, I can potentially get it all the way there in one go. I can also use this as a little staging post, because it's a nice bit of cover there, very solid wall. The Bombot is very tiny, so if he's hiding down there, anyone that goes for that 2-point objective, pop out, kaboom. So even if I have to let them claim that objective for a turn, next turn, I'm going to explode all over him. So that's the plan. Juggernaut going for this one, Bombot clearing that one. Mining laser. So the enemy, if they want to claim the big objectives, they're going to have to be in sight of this thing, because if they want that one, they'll have to be in this line of sight, and if they want this one, they're going to be on the ground, which means that the mining laser can actually move to get into a position to shoot them. As it is, over there, there's very little chance the mining laser would be able to shoot anybody if they hang back, but of course they can't really do that, because that's not where the objectives are. So, let's see how it goes. And my setup, you can see I've got somebody in there. I think that's the Steel Warrior with the autocannon on the second floor, or the first floor, should I say, right there. And on the ground floor, we've got the Huskarl. My opponent, well, you can see some of the horrible rats that are here. We've got, I think there's a picture of the army list coming up. I'll just see if there is. Yeah, there we go. So, Broodmother, which is the leader, has tough, it's got armour, which is okay. I don't mind seeing armour because I've got lots of AP, so I want armour to shoot at. So when I see all this lack of armour, I think, oh dear. I'd much rather face armour than tough, because I can punch through armour, can't punch through tough. 2 Night Terrors, one with scythes, one with Spitter, which is AP 3, which is very dangerous against my forces. Malignus with AP 2 as well. Night Terror with scythes has AP 2 in combat, which I can't do anything about. And AP 2 on the Det packs of the Creeper as well. And AP 1 on the Broodmother, so quite a bit of AP, considering it's rats. You expect them to be numerous and feeble, but there are actually some very potent models in here as well. So let's just go back to the setup. So we've got the Night Terrors, we've got the long-ranged version hiding, we've got a pack of rats down there, we've got the Night Terror with the scythes ready to get into combat there, and for the command dice, so I've got lots of splats, which is fine, because I want to be able to reduce the AP of incoming attacks. If you're coming up against something that's like AP 5, then it's not really going to help to have loads of splats to just throw away against the AP, generally, because you're using all your dice on one thing, and especially if your armour is only 2, for example, then you'd have to use a lot before it's even worth it. But if you're coming against AP 1 or 2 attacks, then throwing 1 splat or 2 at them to get rid of that seems like a good idea. Shooting, always nice, because I've got plenty of guns, and movement, which Forge Fathers always desperately want, because they're very slow. My opponent has got some move dice, which increase the speed of the rats even more. Some extra dice and a shoot, which could be tasty. So if you look at the speed, almost everything is 2-3. So almost everything here is faster than my entire force, apart from the Broodmother. We've got Colin and Penny in the chat as well. Good morning at this unusual hour for a video. Nice cinematic shot there. So, first thing that happens, I've got my Steel Warrior with the autocannon on the roof, shooting down towards the enemy and suppress the Night Terror with scythes. Mainly to slow it down a bit, because I don't want to be fighting that thing too early. Got the Brocker heading up there, because I want to get into this 1-point objective really, because it seems like a good use for an unarmoured model like that. My opponent creeping up, not getting in too much into view. One of the rats has got into the 2-point objective. My Steel Warrior moving up, knows no one to shoot at, so I'm just keeping out of sight. Hiding. Then my Huskarl goes into the 2-point objective to fight against this rat. And so I saw the opportunity to get him into combat and thought, why not? But Don't actually manage to kill it, sadly. So am I going to pay for that? Possibly. I could have stayed back and just shot. We've got a rat up on the 1 point objective there. You can see the bomb bot's poised to strike for next turn for when I get this guy out of the way. However, I don't need to get him out of the way because the Night Terror with scythes, who I foolishly allowed to attack me, killed me. There he is. My leader is dead. By the way, the prize for killing a leader in this tournament was a lollipop. You don't get any extra tournament points. So, not too bad. But unfortunately, the leader is dead. So, this is the first game I've ever played with the Forge Fathers, by the way. And maybe I overestimated his survivability against something with AP in close combat, because his ability can't be used. His ability to reduce the AP of incoming attacks can only be used on ranged attacks, I believe. So, not the ideal thing to come up against there, something that's bigger than you, moving in, friend in the cube, and lots of AP. So the leader is dead, so lesson learnt there. However, that does mean there's 2 models in there for the bomb bot to go after, which is what I'm going to do. The Juggernaut, moving up onto this cube, wants to go for the 2 point objective, but I can't get there yet. So just overlooking it, ready to set people on fire. And the rats do get onto it though, which I can't really do much about because they're faster than me, so they're obviously going to get there towards the start. And also, this guy, the Steel Warrior, has been knocked down from his perch, and I think it was a grenade launcher that did it. Knocked down from his perch and wounded. And that is how the rats are looking up there, with their nice vantage point shooting down. That's the nice high AP Night Terror up there. So, I think the rats also immediately found some intel at the start of the game as well. So, before the objectives are claimed, that's the score. So it's 11-0 already. So it's not looking good, because it's once you hit 16, at the end of that round, the game will end. So it's not looking too great at this stage, but there is still some scope for a comeback, because I've got in there the Juggernauts in range to start fighting now. I've got the bomb bot ready to strike, which could very well clear out that whole area. Got my mining laser ready. So it's not all lost yet. I've only lost the leader. I haven't managed to kill anything myself yet though. So, next turn, obviously I'm reduced in command dice now. We've got Jodge or Jodge in the chat there. Good morning. 2 movement and a shoot, which is okay. My opponent has quite a nice mix of dice there. And the bomb bot blows itself up, but what does it accomplish with that? Well, it managed to suppress pin the Night Terror, and it managed to kill the rat that was there. So the bomb bot doesn't cost any victory points at all. So you can, if you use it to blow up a 1 victory point model, it's kind of done its job. And it costs 6 points as well. So it's killed one thing and pinned that one. There we go. The Juggernaut gets straight into combat, but sadly fails to kill a rat. Wow, wow, wow. So you wait all this time, and it doesn't do anything. The mining laser, however, puts 3 wounds onto this Night Terror. The Night Terror immediately shoots back and kills the mining laser in 1 shot. Not ideal. So it's not looking too great now. Oh, look at that. So the Night Terror with scythes has gone straight for that Steel Warrior that was down here and eaten him for breakfast. So my opponent is almost certainly going to hit the 16 points at the end of this round now. So I need to try and kill as much as possible. The Brood Mother getting up into the action. Kills the Brocker. What can I kill with the autocannon? Well, I can gun down the Night Terror with the shooty version of it. So that's nice. It was already heavily wounded, so I managed to finish it off. Night Terror is dead, so I've managed to get some killing done, but in the end it wasn't enough, and lost too much stuff. Let's have a look at the wide shot before the final turn. So, where's the last wide shot? There we go. So before the final turn, I was hoping, this was my plan, that the Juggernaut was going to go over there, totally murder this poor little rat. Very high chance of accomplishing that. then shooting into this cube, setting those two on fire, maybe killing that, and then there's a good chance that the fire can do something there. It's a decent weapon, and obviously being on fire means you're less likely to be able to then shoot with it later. You're less likely to be able to do anything. The mining laser, of course, actually did do some decent damage to it, and I finished it off with the autocannon, but the autocannon could have also been shooting other things. The Steel Warrior and the Brocker, I don't know if I really could have saved them because they weren't the priority. So it was a difficult position to be in, though, already plenty of points down. I think getting the leader killed was a bad idea. Should have probably just let the opponent have this area uncontested and then sent the bombot in thereafter, and then once everyone was down, then sent in the leader, perhaps. That would have made more sense, or focused more on shooting. Sadly, it was not to be. So we've learnt some valuable lessons about the Forge Fathers there. Don't send the leader in willy-nilly and think he's invincible. And let's see if I can take those lessons into game 2. And as you can see here, we have 2-point objectives. So, I can't remember what this one's called. Is it... which one is it? Is it Divide and Conquer, maybe? But there are 2-point objectives on the centre, out on each flank. So there's a 2-point there, 2-point there, 2-point there, and 2-point there. So lots of victory points available just for sitting on things, and only that one is on a half cube, which is next to a full cube on both sides, which means the Juggernaut, who can't go on a half cube, can actually sit on one of these and just punch into the cube, which is nice. On the downside, though, I can't get my vehicles up to this side, because I've got the mining laser and the bombot, of course, who will have to focus on this side or the centre, where there is slightly more open ground. Now, it might not look like it from here, but there's quite a lot of line of sight through to both ends of the board here, because there are a lot of holes in the walls and a lot of doorways. So, let's have a look at the setup. Because you set up in, like, it's a 4 there and then a 2 at the front. So, I've got my leader forward, I've got my Juggernaut waiting to go up there to claim one of those objectives. Mining laser has got a good vantage point here. There's a good line of sight all the way across the table through here. I've got my autocannon in there ready to maybe climb up even higher. I haven't even told you what my opponent's brought yet, but you'll see in a minute. We've got the bombot hiding under there. So it's GCPS, who have a mortar, which is why I haven't got anyone on the roof. I don't want anyone being knocked out onto the ground immediately as soon as the game starts. So there's a mortar. There are lots of regular GCPS troops here. So what's notable is that there is not a lot of AP in the GCPS list. There is some. There's not a huge amount though. So this guy has deployed up on the top of this tower. And I can't remember which one the leader is. They all look kind of similar GCPS, don't they? So just from the photos, unless you're intimately familiar with them, it's hard to tell which one the leader is. But there's lots of basic troops and some slightly more elite troops, is the best way of putting it, and a mortar. So, I'm fairly confident. So I've got 2 move dice, which is good because I want to get onto those objectives and get up there early. Shoot dice, which is nice. Splat might be useful. And fights, probably not yet. Probably not going to be doing too much fighting. My opponent's got some extra dice. And moving up with the mining laser, you can see that I immediately lasered off the mortar. Instantly, because it had a nice view through a window, and the mortar is dead. There was nowhere to hide the mortar. If my opponent had got this side of the table, then there are actually a couple of fully blocking walls on this side. I think maybe behind this tower there might have been somewhere it could have hidden. But on that side, that cube there has a window in it that you could just see the mortar through. So I was able to gun that down immediately, which is a really good start. That was probably... it's kind of a threat, but against Forge Fathers it's way less of a threat, a mortar, because a lot of my units are solid, and just the effects of a mortar are more limited against the Forge Fathers than they would be against most other factions. Colin says, working so can listen to this. My brother is struggling with Forge Fathers in Deadzone, so maybe give him some pointers. Well, hopefully I can. This is the first ever Forge Fathers list I've made, and I only painted the models I needed for it, so at the moment I don't have any other options, so we'll see how this list does, and then I'll describe its strengths and weaknesses. So, this guy up here guns down my autocannon immediately before I have a chance to use my ammo. So I think he's a bit of a sniper hiding up there, which is always good. Always bad for me, obviously. So he's gone. And you can see that one of the GCPS has moved on to this 2-point objective here. And what I'm going to be able to do is move on to this one. I've got my Brocker hiding. Anything that I want to not be shot is just hiding, pretty much. Because Brocker doesn't have armor, I don't want him getting gunned down. One notable thing about the Forge Fathers, though, their survive stat is usually pretty good. So even when you're being shot at, you've got a chance. Even if they're ignoring your armor, you've got a decent survive shot as well. Which is also something to consider when the enemy is attacking you in close combat. For example, a Steel Warrior has a better survive roll than it does a fight roll. So it might be worth just rolling to survive with Steel Warriors. Brockers are better at fighting, so generally better to fight back with them. So I've moved my Huskarl, my leader, up onto the 2-point objective there because I don't see much threat to him on this side. So I don't have to worry about, for example, a huge rat monster attacking him. So moving up there, and I picked up some ammo as well, so he's got 2 lots of ammo. Enemy spreading out a bit, and they've got 2 onto this 2-point objective there. And the Juggernaut is getting as close as possible, but is set on fire by one of the enemies with a flamethrower. So it's going to be a bit of a flame off there. So at the moment I can't quite reach to punch them in the face, but next turn I will be. And there's how it's looking. So my opponent is scoring on those 2 objectives, I'm scoring on this one. Which isn't a big surprise because my opponent was able to scout a bit forward and I'm very slow. So not surprising at all. Next turn, however, it's going to be toasty time, I think. So at the end of that round, I've got 5, my opponent has 8. So definitely still in it. I've got 2 move dice, which is okay. Extra activation, which is generally handy at the start of the turn, and a couple of splats as well, which aren't that useful in this game, but you can always use them as re-rolls as well. My opponent's got some shoot dice. So the Juggernaut sets them on fire, both of them, moves there to try to punch them in the face, but fails to kill them with the punchy drill. Only sets them on fire. The Brocker is hit with something, I think it's a grenade launcher, and is knocked down. Not wounded though. The Huskarl moves within the cube to get an open shot on the GCPS guy that was there, totally riddles him full of bullets and kills him. And the mining laser, I think, has a good line of sight through there and probably kills somebody else. I've also got my Steel Warrior into this cube now, so I'm on both 2-point objectives. And that means I'm on 3 of them now. So slowly gaining battlefield supremacy, slowly whittling down the GCPS, but not so much over here. 2 of them steam into this Steel Warrior's cube, but one of them actually gets wounded, even though they've got a buddy in there. So it's kind of embarrassing for them. And they are contesting that objective though. So that's how the objectives look at the end of that round. So I've caught up due to doing plenty of killing in that turn and sitting on 2 of the objectives unopposed. So I managed to get another 9 points, and my opponent got 2 more, meaning that it is currently 14-10. So I'm very close to winning at this stage, as long as I don't give away too many points in the next round. You need 16 to win, remember. I've got an extra activation, move, shoot, fight, extra dice. My opponent has got a bit of a mixture as well. And you can see here that I managed to send in my Huskarl and just punch those GCPS dudes in the face. I think when I moved in, I punched the unwounded one first because I was getting the bonus dice for moving in. So I thought I'll get the bonus dice for moving in against the unwounded one, hopefully kill that, and then use a fight dice to punch the wounded one in the face. Because I don't need the extra dice for moving in because I'm getting one for him being wounded. And I had one for my friend being in there, so the Huskarl punches them both to death, meaning the Steel Warrior is going to be free to jump onto this one, hopefully, in a minute. And something's going on down here. Okay, the bomb bot popped out. I can't even remember where it was hiding, because I don't think I had a photo of it, because it was underneath a bit of terrain, but it popped out and exploded on a regular GCPS Marine and killed it. Down here, the Juggernaut killed both of the guys that were in there. I think it may have been with the flamethrower. I think maybe I tried to punch one of them and failed, and then ended up just flaming them to death, or the other way around. Maybe flaming failed, so I punched them both to death. Either way, they're both dead. Can't remember exactly the sequence of events that led to it, but my opponent has moved another one up there onto the 2-point objective. And I get the Steel Warrior. This Steel Warrior was actually hit with a grenade launcher, I think, and bounced into this cube, but then was able to stand up and just jump onto the 2-point objective quite handily. So, at the end of that round, also my Brocker popped out down there, climbed down off the tower, and shot somebody down there, I think. So I've managed to kill maybe almost everything, and I haven't lost that much. So, all the stuff I was able to kill, killed several models, and claimed most of the objectives in that round. My opponent only claimed the one. So 30 points to 12. So 12, of course, isn't that far away from 16. So you could easily end up with an obscenely high score like that and still have a draw out of the game. So there we go. Very large win in the second game. And what do I put this down to? Other than immediately killing the mortar with the mining laser. First of all, I would say if you can ever kill a mortar, always do it as early as possible. Very handy, unless your entire list is solid and you just don't worry that much about mortars anyway. On to round 3. And I can't remember what this scenario is called. This one might be Scatter, actually. It's where you deploy half your models in opposite corners, and then the objectives are in the middle. So, I'm against rats again. I'll have a wide shot in a moment, but you can see we're kind of encased in a building here. So I've got my Bombot, my Juggernaut, and my 2 Steel Warriors over on this side. And in the opposite corner, I've got my Huskarl, the Brocker, and the mining laser. So the mining laser is actually contained within a building here, and because it's a vehicle, it won't be able to get out. So I just took the choice here that I would never leave these 4 cubes with the mining laser. Because there's no real reason to. He's got good lines of sight across the table, which you'll see in a moment. And there are some big, juicy targets I'll be able to see. So, my opponent's rats, it's got the Night Terror, the shooty version, some regular rats, a Tunnel Runner, which is very scary indeed. These rats, by the way, are the ones that won the Best Painted award. Very nice slimy bases and some weathering damage effects. And there's also a Night Terror with scythes there as well. So the 2 big nasty Night Terrors and a Tunnel Runner. So pretty scary. You can see the layout here. There's 1-point objective there, there, and there. So, this Tunnel Runner is a vehicle. I've got 2 vehicles. They're all going to be limited to the ground level. There are lines of sight from the mining laser through windows all the way across, down here pretty much, and all the way over there. This is a bit solid, this wall here, but I've got a decent line of sight there and decent lines down here. The Bombot wants to go after this objective because it's on the ground level, but also this one potentially. Either of these 2, if the opponent gets onto them, the Bombot can move in there and blow up, and even if it doesn't, it's a threat and it's drawing fire. The Juggernaut wants to go for either of these as well, and these 2 objectives, one of them being on a half cube, so the Juggernaut wouldn't be able to get that one. So I've got my Huskarl over there. He's not going to rush out and get killed by any of the big horrible rats though. He's just going to stay back for the moment. This is kind of a defensive position I've set up here, and this is my more offensive area, because the Bombot, of course, can't do much from back there, and the Juggernaut is just a tough old beastie, so it's going to get out there. And then this area is going to be more of a firing platform, with the Brocker in there, just because I needed to put another model on that side, so he can always run out and get objectives later on. So, look at that, you can see my leg as well. Isn't that exciting? So, I've got some extra activations, some extra move, which is okay, I would have rather had shoot. And my opponent's got some splats, which I believe allows him to move maybe move a model extra distance, after it's activated, something like that. Rats have that kind of ability. So, one thing that the rats do have, when they shoot at you, they put this prey marker on you. So if someone attacks you in close combat, they get extra dice. And my autocannon toting Steel Warrior has been given that prey marker already. Rats on the move. This one climbing up to high ground with its big scary gun to shoot down, but fails to kill the bomb bot, I believe. I think that's what it targeted immediately, but just rolled badly and didn't hit it at all. Moved my Steel Warrior with autocannon up there, and what's this? I've completely annihilated the Night Terror with scythes before it's had a chance to do anything. Nice. So I used my ammo, I got to high ground, and I think I may have had an open shot on it almost. I'm not sure if I did, but either way, it's dead. The other Steel Warrior climbing up into the building and guns down the enemy leader, which was the Malignus, I think it's called. Let me see where that was. So, if we go back to the setup, it was in here somewhere. One of these. So when my Steel Warrior climbed up into the tower and then shot down from the higher level, I just killed it in one go. So, very great start. Killed the Night Terror, killed the leader, and lovely. My autocannon did get shot down by this rat though, which is fair enough because he did just take out a Night Terror, so I'll allow it. But I do love his little goggles there. My leader climbs up, my Huskarl climbs up onto this building and shoots at the tunnel runner and puts 3 wounds on it, which is really good. Got up to high ground and used his ammo. And of course he shoots on 3s, so you've got a really good chance of doing damage with his gun. Got a rat going up onto the 1 point objective there. The Juggernaut getting into the action sets the other Night Terror on fire, and it's wounded as well. And we've got more rats on the objectives, which I'm happy to allow. I'm not venturing out too much, although I am wounding them with the Brocker's pistol. Shoots that one. The bomb bot has moved up into threatening position, so if the enemy don't do anything about that, it's going to explode all over that rat. And that's how it looks at the end of that round. So the Juggernaut and the Tunnel Runner aren't really in a position to directly assault anybody yet, but they are in a position to do damage with their guns, and they're getting closer. This side I've kept to my word and just been defensive over there with the mining laser and the Huskarl. Bombot's about to explode, and I've got a Steel Warrior in this tower still. It's 6 points each at the moment, because my opponent was able to sit on a few of the objectives to get those points back, but I've done more killing, just about. So, next, I've got lots of shoot dice, which I like the look of, and my opponent doesn't have many because the leader's dead. So, we've got rats on high ground shooting down, put a wound onto my Steel Warrior. There's my wound markers. The mining laser finishes off the tunnel runner. So from its perch inside this building, does the job. The Night Terror with the big weapon on it, I think it fails to do much. And down here, we've got a rat that... what does this rat do? It climbed up there. I can't remember if it shot down and killed anything. The Juggernaut sets rats on fire. This is the one on the 1 point objective on the tall tower. And this one is also set on fire. So I used a shoot dice to set 2 different rats on fire. That one and that one, who is actually not there anymore. I can't remember if he died or if he just moved. But the rats are looking a bit thin on the ground, aren't they? There's this one here, and I'm not sure what else there is. My Steel Warrior climbed up onto the... I think my Steel Warrior climbed up and maybe shot this one off. So I think that's why that one's no longer there. So I'm not sure if it's just this one. But, look at that. 15 points to 6. So I'm definitely going to win, barring an absolute disaster. I need 1 more point, and it's definitely in my favour. Got more shoot dice again. My opponent limited once again. I think he's got 2 rats left. One of them heads up onto this objective, and shoots down. I think it might have been my Brocker that got killed there. Yeah, there we go. So I've lost another model. Poor little fella with his highlighted pectorals there. And that one is wounded by my Juggernaut flamethrower. This one's on fire as well. And the Huskarl hops up here, punches a rat in the face, and then turns around and shoots that one. I dance onto the 1-point objectives to try and maximise how many I get, so I'm on these 3. And yeah, killed everything, sit on the objectives, 20 points to 7. So another win for the Forge Fathers. Another maximum point win, by the way. The scoring in this tournament favoured the margin of victory on victory points and also how much stuff you killed. So the fact that I killed everything, very beneficial there. So 2 maximum point wins after that opening loss. And now, what did I learn from this game then? So the Forge Fathers, their shooting can be very, very potent. Just get them in the right position. But of course they're fragile in the sense that they're all, apart from the big stuff, most of them are only size 1, so they don't have a lot of hit points. So in some ways they are fragile. They're all expensive as well. So when I killed the Night Terror, for instance, it felt very impressive, but it was only 3 victory points. And then as soon as my Steel Warrior with the autocannon was killed, he's also 3 victory points. So you think, actually, was that kind of equal? But it felt like I'd done a more significant blow. So each individual Forge Father is worth quite a lot of victory points when it dies, and you don't have many of them, so you really feel it when you lose a model, which is totally different from the Plague that I usually run, because I usually have multiple big gribblies that go around cleaning things up, and then several smaller things like the dogs, which are very expendable. Not much expendable in this force at all, only really the Bombot that you don't feel if you lose it. Into round 4. And the games weren't very long at this tournament, by the way. 150 points, and lots of murdering taking place. They've been quite brief so far, so this is not going to be a long video at all. Next one, we're on Deep Strike. So this is a scenario I do not like. I think you deploy too close together, and yeah, that's pretty much it. At the last tournament, the one that I won with the Plague, I believe it was at that one, my opponent had the Asterians on this scenario, and I was able to just eat them all almost immediately, because we just set up close together, and the big gribbly stuff like Teratons, if they're so close, they can just immediately eat you. So I'm not a fan of this. I think it would be better if the forward deployment line was further back. That would be better, if you ask me. And the 4-point objectives, how do I feel about that? They don't usually come into it as much as you would think, because you're so close together, it's like an immediate bloodbath. So you may be able to decide the game by taking the objectives, but usually you already had momentum on your side anyway from killing. So, not a big fan of this layout, this scenario. We'll see if I have more reason to not be too thrilled with the scenario after this game. So I'm against the Enforcers. I've got most of my stuff set up here and hiding down there. So there's not that much terrain to hide behind on this battlefield, sadly. So hiding down here with my Huskarl and my Juggernaut and the Steel Warriors. Down there we've got the Brocker, the Bombot. The Bombot's there. We've got the Brocker and the Mining Laser over on that side. So my opponent won the recon test and was then able to move models forward and had scout moves. So on this scenario, having scout moves and winning the recon to move forward and having things like jet bikes that are already fast means that it's pretty much going to be able to strike wherever he wants in turn 1 and go first due to winning the recon test. So let's see how that pans out. There's a jet bike, there are some regular enforcers, there's some pathfinders, there's a sniper as well. So I've got shoot dice. I've got splats, which might be useful against some of the AP shooting. My opponent has got extra dice, fight, shoot, and activation. So, in this scenario, or in any scenario, if there's good fields of vision for enemy shooting, if they're going first, you don't want to see an activation dice and then 2 shoot dice, because if they've got really powerful shooting snipers, for example, and missile launchers, they could potentially kill 4 of your things before you even have a chance to act. So there's only 1 shoot dice here, so that's a small mercy. There's the list, by the way. The Pathfinder Sergeant, the Dog Drone, which we couldn't really see in the pictures, Enforcer, Enforcer Jet Bike, Pathfinder, Enforcer, Enforcer. So some regular Enforcers, Pathfinder. And which one has got the sniper rifle? There we go, Sniper Rifle Enforcer with the sniper scope, with AP ammo as well. And an Enforcer with a thermal rifle, so there is some more AP in there. An AP-5 on a missile launcher on a jet bike. Is it just me that thinks that's a little bit excessive for a jet bike? You would think a jet bike should be a fast-moving, kind of light vehicle, rather than carrying a massive AP-5 missile launcher. It's basically an obscenely powerful gun platform. Shooting on 4s, AP-5, range 8 can get anywhere because, of course, it has flight, so it can just fly up to any vantage point and shoot with this obscenely powerful weapon. So I think that's a bit potent. Anyway, let's see what happens. Well, wouldn't you know it, the speed 2.5 jet bike manages to get directly above my force immediately with the first activation, because we're so close together with the deployment map, and has a clear shot down and murders the Juggernaut in 1 shot with its AP-5 missile launcher. First activation of the game, and then what happens? It uses a shoot dice, has another go, and murders the Forge Guard Huskarl. So my leader is also dead in the first activation. I don't really know if there is a counter to this. I can't think of one. In this scenario, we have to deploy that close together. You're against something that can just climb up wherever it feels like and then gun you down. Someone let me know if you can come up with anything that would have helped me in this situation. The sniper then decides to have a go with the extra activation dice, and guns down the mining laser in 1 shot. So, I've lost more than half the points of my army without having an activation yet. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, it's time to hit back. So, the autocannon Steel Warrior immediately guns down the jet bike. Then with a shoot dice, immediately guns down the sniper. So, wait a minute, this isn't going so bad after all. We've just killed 2 models in retaliation immediately. The Steel Warrior then has a bit of a showdown, trying to shoot down some enemy, and does take out one of the Enforcers as well. So every shot that anyone's fired so far has killed a model. 6 models dead immediately. Another Enforcer gets up onto the roof, guns down the autocannon. So I'm getting very low on models here. Steel Warrior gets wounded as well. And I do manage to knock this guy down. But that's about it. That was the bomb bot. Didn't manage to kill it, but did go boom. And then, at the end of the turn, the Dog Drone, who I didn't realise was actually 2.4 speed. I thought it was 2.3, but it was 2.4, so it was able to jump straight onto the 4-point objective, which I didn't realise was going to be an option. Let's see where the Dog Drone's actually hiding, because I kind of forgot it existed and forgot how fast it was. Did I get any pictures of it? It's hiding somewhere behind this terrain, but it jumps onto the 4-point objective, and the game is over. I think the game took about 8 minutes. So obviously a total bloodbath. I did my fair share of killing as well. But before I even had a chance to activate, losing most of my army immediately as soon as the game started, and I don't know what I could have done about it. So there you go. You can see there 17 points to the Enforcers, which is over the threshold, and I ended up with 8. Let's go back and look at the deployment and see if there was anything that I could have done differently here, because I'm struggling to think of anything. So if I had that side, obviously that would have been much better, because there are buildings to hide underneath. On this side, only real way I could have hidden things was to put them under this building here, which doesn't help that much because it's open on both sides there, so the enemy can still shoot down with snipers from here, and there's only a limited number of models I could hide under there. It would have just meant that the jet bike wouldn't have had an open shot on them. So perhaps hiding my leader under there, but then again, if the jet bike landed here, it would have still had an open shot. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what could have been done differently, because the jet bike, let's see, I think it's in this cube here. So it went 1, 2 to there. So it could have gone 1, 2 here, and may have still had an open shot to anyone underneath this one here, possibly. But either way, I wouldn't have been able to hide the Juggernaut under there, so the Juggernaut would have certainly been in the same position regardless. And, of course, I did get cover for the mining laser, but it still got sniped off in one shot. So I don't know what I could have done differently. Anyone looking at this who has an idea for a counter to this situation, where you're on a scenario where you're really close together, the enemy has very powerful shooting that can take out your forces in one go, let me know what you would do in this situation. You're definitely not going first. I think the enforcers were rolling the recon test on a 3+ as well, so we're able to move models forward and scout move. So it seems like a very, very difficult situation. But I'm sure it will come up again in the future because this scenario does get used. And it's obviously benefited me in the past with the Plague being so close to the enemy in the first turn, being able to just jump straight on them. So let me know what you would do in this situation. Similar things have happened before in the past, where enemies have had multiple snipers or multiple missile launchers and got the first turn, got the activation dice, got 2 shoot dice. The only thing I can think of, it's not even something I could do specifically, maybe even saying something like, you can't use the extra activation dice with your first activation of the game to get 2 in a row before the opponent has had a chance to move one model. Something like that in the rules I think would help in these situations, because obviously I would have been able to act before the mining laser was killed, which would have given me more of a chance, because as you saw, the autocannon immediately killed the sniper and the jet bike, so then if I'd still had the mining laser alive it would have been a bit closer. But regardless, still within the current rules, very, very tricky in this scenario to deal with certain armies. Sometimes in my favour, depending on what I brought, sometimes not. Had I gone first in this scenario, then I think I could have done some serious damage. I could have got into a position to, because the jet bike's fairly large, and where would it have been hiding? Because I think there's holes in most of these walls, so I don't know whether it would have been able to hide too well. So had I gone first, I could have potentially, if I'd got some move dice, got right in there with some of my stuff, for example the Juggernaut, if I'd started it there, got some move dice, move 1, 2, and then move straight in and attack something that's around here maybe. Would have had more of a chance anyway, but alas, it was a loss. So, where does that leave me in the tournament standings? 2 massive wins, 2 losses. Is that going to put me into the podium positions? I was on the top table in the final round, and I can reveal that it actually put me in 3rd place, which is obviously podium position, which is nice. It means a prize, and I got some, let's see, what did I win? It was a box of Vermin, so that's fun. Also, I won the Best Terrain Award, so I got a box of like sci-fi terrain accessories, which I can work into my Deadzone terrain, which is nice. And then we all got one of the Deadzone books as well, everyone who took part in the tournament, so that's nice. Some nice prizes. I'm led to believe that there are going to be trophies that hadn't been prepared in time for the event. So they will exist at some point though, I'm assured. So at some point in the future I'll be picking up a nice bronze, probably a nice bronze Blaine statue. from Mantic for this event, so that can go with my trophy collection. So that's nice. So I won't have to order my own trophies this time. And what have I learned about the Forge Fathers? Well, under the right circumstances, they're very fragile, because you don't have many of them, and if you put them in a position to die, you're going to feel it immediately. You can't throw them into a position that they're likely to be killed in. You have to be very careful with them. If you preserve them and keep them alive, they can dish out some serious pain, and they can be very survivable if you're careful with them. Some scenarios and enemy forces make it very difficult to protect them, but you still got to give it a go. Because if you can preserve them throughout the game and kill some of the bigger threats, smaller enemies are going to have trouble getting through them. So if you can focus on the more dangerous targets immediately. For example, in this game against the rats, I was able to take out some of the really scary stuff instantly. Managed to get the first shot in. Colin says, oof, too little terrain against the enforcers. Yes. There was not a lot of terrain on that table to hide in. But that's Deadzone. You can't have every table completely crawling with terrain. You've got to have a bit of a mixture. Sometimes it's going to be fairly open, sometimes it's going to be densely packed, sometimes it's going to be underground tunnels, sometimes it'll be hills and caverns and whatnot. I like to see a lot of variety in the terrain. Like this one, for example, has got quite a lot of hiding spaces, you would think, but there's also a lot of line of sight all the way through windows. So most of the boards there I thought were pretty cool and fairly balanced. But I think it was the combination of deploying close together in that last game, the slightly open terrain, me getting the unfavourable side of the table, and my opponent's list featuring things that could kill me in one shot, and also being able to activate two models and shoot twice with one of them right at the start of the game. Overall though, very pleased with that first tournament with the Forge Fathers. 2 nice juicy wins to take back home. Managed to avenge the loss to the Vermin by beating some different Vermin later on, which was nice. So, don't have to be too traumatised by them. Enforcers, maybe another matter. And anything else to mention? The Vermin that I faced in round 3 won the Best Painted award. They were very nice. And there we go. There is my faction at the moment. What am I working on next? Well, I've got some more Steel Warriors, some more Brockers. I've got an Iron Ancestor, which I've got the version of it that has the flamer and the big heat gun. So I'm going to build that, and I'm also going to probably use pins, so I've got the options for which weapons to use on it. I've also done that with the Juggernaut, by the way. Those weapons are removable and they can be swapped out for the other variant. And I've also got the Brocker bike as well, which I want to paint. So, I've got ideas for a list at 200 points that features the Iron Ancestor and the Juggernaut, which I think would be really scary to face. I would have to put Brockers and Bombots in there to keep the points down, but I think it will be fun. I've really enjoyed painting these guys actually. It was a bit of a challenge not using any metallic paints. And I didn't want to put a ridiculous number of colours on them. I wanted to keep it kind of bold, striking. So because I didn't want to use tons of different colours, I went a lot crazier than I normally do on the highlighting. You can particularly see it on the orange. There are lots of different levels of highlighting going on there. The greens as well. The white is more subtle. The bases I ordered from, I can't remember the company name. Let me just have a look. Where did I order it from? See if I can find it in my emails here. Because there were several different kinds of resin bases that they had, and I went for these ones that are like broken up earth. Broken up concrete, should I say. Let me see. Because it would be helpful if I could give you the name of the company, because obviously if you like them, you might want to go out and buy some for yourself. Let's see here. I'm sure people don't mind sitting around while I try and look up the name of this. basing company. You know what? I can't find it though. I'll let you know in the next video what the company is, or I'll just let you know in the comments if someone asks later. So, thanks for tuning in to this live stream at this strange time of day. This pre-work live stream. Let me know what you think of the Forge Fathers. Let me know what you think of the colour scheme, the tactics or lack of employed there. Any tips that you can give me, any tips that you've picked up from me. And what's the next event I've got lined up? I think the next one might be a Kings of War tournament, but I'll have to check on that. I'm hoping to do some more practice games as well and get battle reports on those. Because the next couple of months is a bit light on the tournament front, so some regular battle reports instead. And let me know what else you'd like to see. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description. The Twitter, Facebook, all that shenanigans. I just posted this picture on Instagram earlier as well, which I think is probably linked down there. If it's not, I'm sure you can find it. And don't forget, of course, if you want to support this channel and keep this beacon of light afloat during these dark, turbulent times, don't forget to pledge all your life savings on the Patreon, which, of course, is much appreciated and mostly pays for me to attend some tournaments. So, there you go. And with that, I believe it's time to depart. I can also get my Forge Fathers ready for Firefight as well at some point. I'm going to need quite a few more of them painted for that. I've got enough though. I've got quite a few Forge Guard. I've got lots of Brockers. Probably need to get more Steel Warriors at some point. I think the Forge Fathers army box comes with quite a few of those and the vehicle in it. So I'd be looking at that in the future when I'm getting ready for Firefight. I did get the Firefight rulebook as well while I was at Mantic HQ. So I don't know if I'll give a full review of that, or maybe I'll just do a battle report once I actually get to grips with the rules and get enough models ready for it, or if I just use my Plague, which I could probably do immediately. So anyway, all that remains to be said now is good morning out there, whatever you are.